I want to bring in the University of Arkansas Dean for the Clinton School of Public Service and MSNBC analyst, Victoria DeFrancesco Soto. Also with us, former Florida Republican Congressman and MSNBC political analyst, Carlos Curbelo. Good to have both of you. Victoria, the New York Times points out this is actually the second time in 10 days Trump has kind of reshared a sexual, crude remark about Harris. Her campaign has decided she's not saying anything. There's no direct response. Is that the right strategy?
Absolutely. I mean, this merits no response whatsoever. And I think ultimately the messages that Donald Trump is putting out are clear enough in and of themselves. And regrettably, this is something that women have been contending with, throughout the course of history, both Republicans and Democrats. Regrettably, kind of these sexist frames, whether implicit, explicit, dog whistle, or very explicit, like in the case of Donald Trump, are something we have had to contend with. So I think this is something that will hurt Donald Trump, as we have seen that women not only grow in terms of their electoral might in getting elected to positions of power, but also women have been outvoting men for over 40 years. We go to the ballot boxes. So this is not a constituency that you want to denigrate. This is not a constituency that you want to shame and make feel less.
Congressman, there may be nothing that Donald Trump hates more than being ignored. And when he posted this most recent crude attack, it was one of 30 reposts in half an hour. Do you think Harris's refusal to respond to these crude, misogynistic suggestions are getting under his skin?
Yeah, Chris, when Donald Trump doesn't get the type of engagement that he really thrives off of, when he doesn't get attention, when he's not in the spotlight, when people aren't willing to go low the way he's willing to go, he does get frustrated and he tries to ramp up and try to increase the volume. I think in this case, this attack is so just beneath a campaign, especially a presidential campaign, that it does make sense for the Harris campaign to ignore it and to allow it to speak for itself. And that will probably cause Donald Trump to become even more agitated and to try to stoop even lower. Of course, ultimately, this ends up hurting him with the types of swing voters that will ultimately decide this election.
Victoria, in a new Fox poll of swing states, Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, there's a 22-point gender gap. Harris has an 11-point advantage with women, Trump with 11 points with men. We just heard Vaughn Hilliard report on campaign efforts to win over more women. So what's Donald Trump doing here?
I think he's trying to figure out a way to get attention. And to Carlos's point, this is an individual who has been used to dominating the headlines for essentially the past decade. And over the last couple of weeks, we have seen the page turn in the political narrative. We've seen a very energized Democratic Party and Donald Trump trying to get the limelight back. But I believe that not all publicity is good publicity. So perhaps he's trying to do that, just get back into the attention. But ultimately, you need women to win elections, and especially in these swing states, where we're talking about minority women, where we're talking about Latinas, where we're talking about African-American women. It's really important that his campaign find a way to connect with them, because if they want to win those swing states, if they want to keep that small edge that they have, these are the demographics they have to focus on.
I wonder, Victoria, if this could be motivating on the other side, because these attacks can be triggering for women who have faced similar attacks on their own qualifications, people overtly or slyly trying to suggest they did not earn their place in the world. Do you think it can be motivating?
I think flipping it around for the Democratic side, absolutely. Women have been contending with these things for a very long time, pretty much throughout the course of history. But here, where we're seeing an incredibly qualified woman at the top of the ticket being targeted in this way, it doesn't make you just angry about her, but it can trigger, to your point, Chris, things we have all individually experienced. So I think that this is something, if the Democratic Party is able to frame it, maybe not explicitly right now, but remind women this struggle is your struggle. go out and do something about it. Vote, get mobilized, get their friends to get out and vote.
So, Congressman, it was just a month ago, I think. When was the RNC and post-assassination attempt, right, where Trump and Vance were themselves suggesting the time for harsh rhetoric was over? Take a listen.
Now, I think our disagreements actually make us stronger. And my message to my fellow Americans, those watching from across the country, is shouldn't we be governed by a party that is unafraid to debate ideas and come to the best solution? That's the Republican Party of the next 4 years, united in our love for this country and committed to free speech and the open exchange of ideas.
I mean, the fact that it didn't actually even last through Donald Trump's convention speech and has only seemed to amp up since then, did they not, make the rhetoric less harsh because they never actually meant to do it? They didn't think it was working? This is simply who they are? What do you see? Because obviously the polls don't suggest it's working.
Well, Chris, this is who Donald Trump is. A lot of people, myself included, held some hope that surviving an assassination attempt might help him reflect and really change course and at least shift a little bit to try to bring the country together. But he has proven that he just can't do it. And this is the culture that Donald Trump has instilled in the Republican Party, one of personal attacks, of nasty rhetoric. And by the way, Chris, it's the reason why Donald Trump loses elections. It's not on policy. If you look at some of his policies, people support his policies, his economic policies. I mean, the polls are all there. It's on style that Donald Trump loses. That's why the MAGA movement was rejected in 2018, in 2020, and in 2022 in a lot of swing states when Republicans were supposed to have a red wave and didn't. Why? Because of Donald Trump's style, because of the toxic nature of his rhetoric that swing voters end up rejecting.